Hey everyone, what's going on? If you love Mass Effect as much as I do, especially the Legendary Edition, then you probably know that keeping the trilogy polished with community fixes and smarter mod setups can turn a good run into a stellar one. I want to walk you through the Mass Effect Legendary Edition Community Patch 2.0 for the first game and why it's a bigger deal than just another round of bug squashing. We're going to talk about what changed under the hood, what that means for your loadouts, how to install it the right way, and a bunch of real examples so you can feel confident updating your setup without crossing your fingers and hoping things don't explode in the Citadel Presidium. First up, what actually is this thing, beyond another patch? Think of it like two layers in one package. You still get the classic quality of life fixes and corrections for the first game. Lines that didn't trigger, tiny geometry hiccups, little logic errors that have been annoying completionists for years. But the bigger layer is a new framework that changes how mods can add or alter level content. In simple terms, the base game has these master level files that most mods use to tweak directly. That's where conflicts used to start. One mod edits a level to add a missing trigger, another mod edits the same level to improve a conversation camera angle, and suddenly the two are both trying to be in charge. The framework introduces a smarter system where those edits can be sideloaded instead of everyone punching the same file. The knock-on effect is fewer conflicts, less patching between mods, and way more stability as your mod list grows. If you're using the ME3Tweaks Mod Manager, and you absolutely should, this all slots into a workflow you already know. The manager is the guardian angel of this trilogy. It checks your installation state, applies mods in a sensible order, and most importantly, it has diagnostics. That diagnostic screen is your truth teller. Before you install anything, open ME3Tweaks, scan your LE1 install, and look at the report. If the manager says your base files are modified, hit restore. Seriously, don't try to stack a framework on top of a wobbly base. A clean restored LE1 install is the best starting point. Once that's square, importing the community patch is as simple as dragging the downloaded file into ME3Tweaks and clicking Apply. The tool knows where everything goes, and it will shout if something's off. Now let's talk about what changes you'll actually feel while playing. There are two kinds of improvements, the ones you notice right away and the ones you only notice because a run feels unusually smooth. The obvious ones are quest flags that didn't set quite right, dialogue that used to clip or repeat under weird conditions, ambient fixes that keep scenes from breaking immersion. The subtle ones are where this really shines. The framework reduces those moments where a new mod breaks something you had working last month. If you've ever curated a load order with world edits, NPC tweaks, and texture changes, you know the feeling. Everything seems fine until a late mission throws an invisible wall at you, or an elevator convo refuses to kick off. With a sideload approach, the number of places where multiple mods collide dramatically drops. Here's a practical scenario. Let's say you're running a mod that enhances pharaohs by restoring a tiny piece of ambient behavior, and another that adjusts a trigger related to a civilian rescue. Previously, those might fight because they both poked the same level asset. Now, with the framework, those additions can exist side by side without someone having to release a mini compatibility patch for every combination under the stars. Another example. Some modder wants to tweak a lighting rig on Noveria, and another wants to smooth a conversation camera cut happening right after a bot counter. Those are mechanically small touches, but the old method made them risky if both were shipping alterations to the same cooked file. The new approach lets each mod ship its piece cleanly, which means you get both improvements on a single playthrough without hunting down a load order thread and crossing your fingers. Let's shift to installation strategy. I recommend this flow. Do a full restore and ME3Tweaks for LE1, then apply the community patch first before anything else that changes levels or gameplay logic. After that, reapply your other mods one at a time, starting with big foundational mods that everyone knows and building toward more niche tweaks. After each major install, open diagnostics. Look for red flags. If the manager warns you about file replacement in a way that seems odd, don't push past it. The time you spend catching a conflict early will save you hours of troubleshooting down the road. And if you ever feel like something didn't stick, use the manager's mod order view to confirm exactly what's applied and in what sequence. The framework is designed to make conflicts rarer, not impossible, so good habits still matter. Something else I love about this update is what it means for the whole trilogy mindset. LE3 has been enjoying a modular framework idea for a while, and LE2's scene-specific frameworks have proven the concept. Bringing that to LE1 is huge, because, let's be real, the first game is where a lot of the ambitious world edits live. There are places with geometry quirks, NPC behaviors that haven't aged perfectly, and some level logic that's more brittle than the later titles. Giving mod creators a cleaner way to plug in improvements means long-term stability for the entire community. It also lowers the barrier for new creators to step in. If you're a modder who always wanted to try a small level tweak, but didn't want to maintain a messy compatibility matrix, the framework is your invitation. Let's talk about performance and save safety, because I know some of you are already thinking about corrupt saves and broken imports into LE2. When you patch a game that's already in progress, the classic advice still stands. Create a fresh manual save before you change anything. If you can, finish the current mission, save after a loading transition, and then perform your updates. The patch is designed to be as non-destructive as possible, but mid-mission state is tricky in every Unreal-based game. After installing, load that fresh save and let the area initialize. Watch for missing prompts or soft locks that might hint at a conflict from another mod. If anything looks off, jump back to diagnostics. Texture mods and lighting packs usually play nice because they're working in a different lane than level logic. But don't assume. If you're running texture overhauls, high-resolution skyboxes, or reshade presets, those shouldn't be a problem. Where you need to pay attention is anything that explicitly mentions level edits, restored content, or NPC spawns. Those are the ones that benefit most from the framework. But they're also where you'll notice if an older mod hasn't been updated to cooperate. Keep an eye on those mod pages for any notes about being framework ready. If the author mentions it, that's a great sign. If they haven't updated in a long while, you can still try, but think about isolating that one and testing. The safest approach is to rebuild your stack from the patch upward, and not just click update on everything at once. A nice side effect of this shift is that players might finally feel free to experiment without the dread of borking a carefully tuned setup. Want to try a new ambient audio tweak on Vermeer, or a small conversation timing fix on Therum? With the framework, that experiment is less likely to bulldoze a completely unrelated addition you've already installed. For creators, the advantage is even bigger. You can target a small area of the game and ship your changes in a modular way without rebasing against a dozen other edits that touch the same level. Let me drop a few troubleshooting tips that have saved me over the years. If you hit an issue where a conversation won't trigger, leave the area to force a fresh load. In LE1, moving through an elevator or returning to the Normandy and coming back can reset conditions that seemed stuck. If an NPC isn't in the right spot, ask yourself whether another mod adjusted spawns. Temporarily disable that one and rerun diagnostics, then test again. If the problem disappears, you found your suspect. If it persists, capture your ME3Tweaks logs. Those logs are gold when you're asking for help because they show exactly what the manager sees. And if you ever need to undo something, ME3Tweaks tracks what's installed so you can de-apply individual mods rather than nuke the whole installation. Now, from a player experience angle, here's what you can expect from a full run with the patch installed. The Citadel tends to feel more consistent in its small interactions, with fewer oddities when you walk back through areas you've already visited. Planetary side missions are less prone to strange flag states where something looked complete but didn't register. Dialogue flow is cleaner, especially in spots where camera placement or timing could hiccup. A lot of that might sound invisible, and that's the point. The best fixes are the ones you never notice because nothing breaks your flow. And if you're layering content mods on top, the stability benefits multiply. The more you stack, the more grateful you'll be that the framework exists. If you're planning to showcase this in your own playthroughs or streams, consider a before and after segment. Pick a place that historically had tiny quirks like elevator banter triggers, or a room where ambient NPCs sometimes popped late, and capture footage pre-update. Then apply the patch, rebuild your stack, and record the same area. Even if the difference is subtle, the consistency will show. Another cool segment is the ME3Tweaks process itself. Walk viewers through diagnostics, explain what each warning means in plain language, and talk about how to decide whether something is a harmless notice or a real problem that needs attention. People love seeing the practical side of modding, what buttons to click, what to do when an error pops up, and how to read the tea leaves in the logs. While we're here, let me share a few best practices for mod order that pair perfectly with the patch. Start with foundational fixes like this one, then apply any large overhauls that change gameplay systems or massive amounts of content. Visual enhancements come next: textures, lighting adjustments, UI tweaks. After that, sprinkle in your mission level changes or restored content packs. End with tiny quality of life mods because they're easiest to toggle if something conflicts. And keep a simple text file or spreadsheet where you list your mods in order and note the date you installed them. If a problem shows up 3 hours into a run, you can quickly see what changed just before that. One more thing I appreciate is the message this sends about stewardship of classic games. We all love the trilogy, and the official remaster gave it a brilliant second life, but it's the community that keeps it evolving, elegant, and approachable years later. A framework like this is forward-looking. It's not just fixing what's broken, it's making a promise that future improvements won't mean revisiting the same old conflicts. That's a big deal for the health of the scene. It encourages collaboration among modders and sets shared expectations for how to build and share content. If you're nervous about taking the leap, here's my challenge to you. Back up your saves, restore your LE1 install in the manager, apply the patch, and launch a run on a fresh character. Hit the Citadel, check Pharos, do a couple of UNC assignments, and just feel out the stability. Add your favorite texture pack and 1 or 2 lightweight level tweaks. See how the manager's diagnostics react and whether anything complains. You'll likely be surprised at how smooth it feels. And if something does throw a warning, you'll have a clean baseline to diagnose from, which is the hardest thing to create once you've got dozens of mods piled on top of each other. For folks wondering about LE2 and LE3, the philosophy here lines up with the frameworks you may already know in the later games. That cross-title consistency matters because many of us play the trilogy as a single long campaign, and we want behavior that feels predictable from game to game. When LE1 joins that party with a solid framework, it means fewer surprises as you move saves forward and a more reliable handoff into the next game. Let's wrap with a quick mental checklist you can follow right after this video ends. Restore LE1 in ME3Tweaks if it's not pristine. Install the community patch. Run diagnostics and confirm everything is green or at least reasonable yellow notices. Reapply your must-have mods with an eye on world edits and NPC changes. After each edition, open the game and sanity check a couple of hotspots. Keep your logs. If an older mod hasn't been touched in ages and you rely on it, consider testing it last so you know exactly what it does to your stack. And remember, the whole point of this update is to make your life easier, not harder. If you find yourself wrestling with a problem, step back to the baseline and build up slowly. The framework is there to support that approach. All right, that's the rundown. I'm excited because this is one of those moments where the foundation gets stronger, and that opens the door for more creative stuff ahead. Whether you're returning to the trilogy for comfort runs or planning a heavily modded cinematic playthrough with every camera polish and ambient tweak you can find, this patch sets you up for a smoother ride. If you found this helpful, let me know what your current loadout looks like, what gave you trouble in the past, and which areas you want me to test next. I'm always curious which missions people use as their stability benchmarks. Thanks for hanging out, good luck with your installs, and I'll see you on the Normandy with a clean diagnostic screen and a very happy shepherd.